seated. Folks, have a seat.
Ms. Bowers, it is your claim that the defendant hit your car.
Yes, Your Honor.
And took off.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to let Ms. De La Rosa dig her own hole. When did this happen?
May 19th.
Of this year?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you step over to the chart? Is that your chart?
Yes, ma'am.
So tell me how you were traveling and what happened, please.
I was traveling eastbound on 5th Street.
5th Street in what city?
In Austin, Texas. And I was heading towards 35. I had just left Rebels Honky Tonk. It's a dance club where me and my friends go dancing. We're very avid dancers, so we throw each other in the air.
What time?
What time were we leaving, Your Honor?
Yes, what time did this happen on?
Around 2:25 a.m. We were heading eastbound on 35, and we were actually in this lane right here, and I heard sirens coming from behind me. And so I went ahead and I turned on my blinker and turned into the left-hand lane, and I slowed down to a stop, where then the fire truck pulled and stopped directly in front of us, and I was rear-ended and smashed by the defendant, Maria De La Rosa.
Okay, so the blue car is her car.
Yes, ma'am.
And you were hit in the rear.
I was.
You were pulling over 4 fire trucks
For the
because
fire truck.
you're required to pull over.
Yes,
to
ma'am.
the left. All right, step back. Did you get out of your car?
I did, Your Honor.
When you got out of your car, did you see Miss De La Rosa?
Yes, Your Honor.
Was she in the car with anyone else?
Yes, ma'am.
With who else?
I'm
Male, female?
about 3 or 4 other people.
Who was driving?
She was driving. When I got out to exchange information, I made eye contact. Me and her made eye contact before she drove. I did not.
Where did you go?
I followed her, Your Honor.
Followed her where?
I followed her. She went down numerous amounts of roads, driving recklessly all over the road. She ended up at a house and she got out, where then I was able to see her once again, the same person, the defendant who was driving the vehicle whenever I was hit from the rear. And she got out, Hispanic, long, straight, black hair, shorter. This is her. She got out, went into the house, where then I pulled around the corner and stopped at a Hispanic club that was in the area and waited for the police to arrive.
You called the police?
I did. I called 911 dispatch on the way as I was following her. My witness is standing here.
Were you in the car?
Yes, ma'am.
Step up, please. Tell me your last name.
Ben Clark.
Where were you seated in Miss Bowers' car?
I was the passenger.
Front seat passenger?
Yes, ma'am.
If I were to ask you the same questions that I posed to Miss Bowers about how the accident took place, would your responses be the same?
Yes, ma'am.
You heard the fire truck?
Yes, ma'am.
Had you been drinking that night?
No, ma'am.
Did you ever visually see Miss De La Rosa that evening?
The only time I saw her was when we finally made the destination to the house. I saw her get out of the car with her friends, I would say 5 or 6 that were in that car that hit us.
Were you able to see her face when she got out of the car?
I saw her. I didn't see her face. I just saw her body.
Saw her body. If I asked you whether you could,
yes, ma'am,
sitting in the passenger seat, could identify, you didn't get out of the car
at
the accident scene.
No, ma'am.
When Miss Bowers got out of the car,
yes, ma'am,
where did she go when she got out of the car?
Open the door to the...
Towards the back of where the defendant's car was?
Yes, ma'am.
You did not. You stayed
No.
in the car. That's it. All right, Miss De La Rosa, you're on.
I don't know what she's talking about.
Okay, you have a car. Pay attention to me. You have a car.
Yes.
What kind of a car do you have?
I have a Chevy Trailblazer.
On the 19th of May of this year, did you have the Trailblazer in your possession?
Yes.
At all times?
Up until I went to the club.
You went to what club?
I went to a club called Geisha.
And this Trailblazer is your car?
It belongs to me and my ex.
Whose name is on the title?
Both of us.
Car have insurance?
Yes.
Did it have insurance on the 19th of May?
Did
it have insurance on the 19th of May?
I don't know.
Did you try to put a claim for the damaged car through to any insurance company?
Yes, Your Honor, I did.
Can I see the result of your effort?
I have no evidence because there is...
No insurance?
Yes, Your Honor.
Right. Okay, I'm listening. You're at a club with your boyfriend's car and your car that has no insurance.
Ex-boyfriend.
And come on, I'm listening. The 19th of May.
We went to the club, got out. It's me, about 6 other people. Went to the garage, well, not garage, parking lot where I had paid to leave my vehicle, and my car was stolen.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Show me the police report.
I didn't.
Just show me the police
I don't
report.
have it with me.
Very good. Can I see pictures of your car, please?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have an estimate for the damage?
Yes, ma'am. I have the best case scenario and worst case scenario. I was hit from the rear, and they won't be able to tell if there's any additional damage until they actually pull off the bumper of the vehicle because it's
Is the
brand
car
new.
drivable?
Yes, ma'am.
Where's your car?
My ex has my car. When I called to report it stolen, he happened to be a tow truck driver.
I don't
so the
believe
cops-
a word you're
Well, you
saying
don't
to me.
have to believe
Listen
it.
to me. I don't believe a word you're saying to me. What I believe is you hit her car.
I did
You were
hit her
driving.
car.
Drove. You hit her car. You knew you didn't have insurance. You knew you were going to lose your car because you didn't have insurance. You took off. As soon as you got home, you picked up the phone and tried to call the police and report your car stolen. That I do believe.
Well, that's not what
That I
happened.
do believe. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,500. That's all.
Parties are excused when they step out.
Came out.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Davis versus Davis. Step forward.
23-year-old Kenesha Davis is suing her sister, Shamika Davis, for totaling her car. Shamika is countersuing for damages she claims Kenesha caused to her car.
Miss Davis, this is your sister. She borrowed your car. She had an accident, according to you, and your sister doesn't deny the fact that she totaled your car, and you want her to compensate you. Your sister says, well, she did total the car, but then you knew she didn't have any money, so that you made an arrangement with her that you could use her car whenever you wanted it, and so that you could save up to buy a new one. And then she has a ridiculous counterclaim that while you were using her car, you left it messy, which is going to be dismissed. I think I'll do that now, so save myself trouble. Now, tell me about when you borrowed your sister's car.
Me and my sister switched cars in October.
Why?
We were both moving at the same time, and I have a truck, so she was using my truck to move. We had each other's car for about 2 weeks before the accident.
And what happened with her car?
Well, me and her met up on Halloween. We took the kids trick-or-treating.
She and I met on Halloween.
She and I met up together to go trick-or-treating with the kids. She went her way with my truck, and I had her car. It was raining really bad that day. I went on the freeway to go home. I was going around a dead man's curb. This car tried to cut in front of me because I was going too slow because it was raining. I had a hit-and-run accident with her car.
Show me the police paperwork. Okay. So you had the accident. Were the police called?
Yeah, the police were called.
Fine. What kind of insurance did you have on your car?
I had liability insurance. It covers any car that I drive.
Were your children okay after the accident?
Yeah.
Okay. When did you purchase this car?
I bought it February 2013.
And this accident was when?
The day of Halloween, October 31st, 2013.
And how much did you pay for the car?
I paid $2,500 for the car originally.
And it's a 2003...
Dodge Stratus.
Would you look that up for me, please? 2003 Dodge Stratus.
Got it.
Car was totaled?
Mm-hmm.
Sedan,
4-door.
2100.
Okay. Anything else you want to tell me? Go ahead.
Well, basically, I don't think I owe her a dime because we had a verbal agreement. She knew I couldn't afford to give her to buy her another car at the time. So she asked me, can she borrow my car until she can get, money for another car, which I did. She had my car for almost a month. She was dropping me off everywhere. And she purchased another car. She had got a Grand Prix. And then within weeks, I guess it got repoed, and now she's trying to sue me for the car. Your Honor, that's not true.
Wait.
Okay.
The fact that your sister says my sister doesn't have any money, so you can't get blood from a turnip, doesn't mean for her car being totaled, because I don't have anybody's statement here except yours that you were hit by another car. As far as I know, you were going too fast and you spun out.
It was raining really bad that night. I was going slow. You're supposed to go 40 miles an hour.
When did it start
It
raining?
was raining the whole night, like all day.
So what did you go out for? Whole night, whole day, raining hard. What'd you go out for with your two children?
Me and
8 and 4.
Kenesha
Listen,
met.
if it's raining that hard that you can't see and you're going 40 miles an hour, stay home with your two children, age 8 and 4, who could have been killed in the car if you say it was that dangerous. And if it wasn't that dangerous, somebody caused the accident. One thing I know for sure, it was not her. She's suing you for less than what she paid for the car. She's suing you for $1,500. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500. Your nonsense counterclaim is dismissed, as I said before.
Thank you. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm just upset that she didn't even give me a chance to tell her about the damages that were done to my car while she had it.
I'm happy. I think that it was fair. I think Judge Judy made the right decision.
The door panel was completely off, the alignment, and I had to get the brakes redone.
Honestly, I mean, it was a little messy. I didn't really mess up the door. It was already like that when I got it. There was nothing wrong with her Jeep that I did.
We don't talk at all anymore.
I mean, we don't talk, but, I mean, that's really it. Everything else is fine.
Hope we can be cool. Be sisters like we're supposed to be.
But she gives me a hug.
Wow. On September 1st, 2013, what was the name of your boyfriend?
John Robert Schultz.
Where is he?
He's sitting right here.
Stand up. Mm-hmm. Okay. Were you and Mr. Stoltz? Is that
Schultz?
Schultz. Living together?
Yes.
Who are you?
I'm the security officer of the property.
Were you a witness to the events of September 1st, 2013?
In the evening, yes. Not during the fire.
So the answer is you were not a witness?
No.
Mr. Schultz, I'm going to start with you for a second. I want you to look here in these eyes, and I want you to tell me what happened on September 1st, 2013.
Well, we were getting ready to go out to lunch for, taking her out for her birthday.
Did you get her a birthday present?
Yeah.
What did you get her?
There's lobster.
No, that's for lunch.
No, I got her some lobsters as a surprise, kind of think she really likes those. I think a ring.
Had you given it to her yet?
I believe so. It's my recollection. It was close to that.
And it looks as if you're happy with each other today.
Yes.
Were you happy with each other on September 1st?
Yes.
No arguing?
No.
Okay. Your two properties share a garage. It is your claim that a fire was started on September 1st in the garage by the defendant.
Yes, ma'am.
And you lost property.
Yes, ma'am.
Defendant said actually it was not her that started the fire. Her property was damaged, and the cause of the damage to her property, which was within the garage, was your fault. Now, you have a witness.
Yes, I
who
do.
witnessed what happened because you didn't see how the fire started.
No, I did not.
Who is your witness?
Laura.
Could you stand up, please? Tell me your name.
Laura Gonzalez.
Where do you live in relation to these folks?
I live across from them. Actually, I stay there because my son and his wife live there.
So you live with your family?
Yes.
About what time of the day did you witness the incident?
In the morning.
In the morning. About what time?
I would say approximately about maybe 10:30, 11.
Where were you sitting?
I was upstairs, in the bedroom upstairs.
Tell me what you observed.
What happened is that I heard them arguing that day.
Who?
The defendant and her boyfriend.
Where were they arguing?
In their house. So right across. Their condominium is right across from my condominium. Their area, and I mean, the walls are really thin, Your Honor.
Could you tell what they were arguing about?
No. Just arguing back and forth. No.
How could you tell it was them?
Because they were the only ones in the house that I'm aware of.
How long had they been arguing?
I cannot say, Your Honor. Maybe, back and forth I can hear through the wall, just bittering back and forth. I cannot tell you how long.
Then what did you observe?
Then what happened was that I was laying down in the bed. Then I didn't hear her get out. What I heard is a loud bang. So when I got up and I looked, I saw her car had hit the garage. He ran out. She was panicking. The boyfriend, I saw him run out of the house because like I said, I'm upstairs.
She was driving the car?
Yes, ma'am. And he ran out of the house. He was yelling at her.
What was he saying to her?
He was telling her, what the did you do? And they were bickering back and forth. She's saying, I don't know, it was an accident. He was telling her, back off, put it in reverse. So when she did put it in reverse and then left, she left all upset, and he went back in the house. At that time, Your Honor, I got called because I had just gotten out of the hospital to do more lab work. I left, Your Honor. But before I left, because their parking and then my parking is here, I went and I saw that there was damage on this man. And then when I left, approximately I can say an hour, hour and a half, I came back. When I came back, Your Honor, that's when I saw all the police, the fire department and everything, and that's when they say about the fire, Your Honor.
Okay. Just recapping so I'm very clear. She hit the garage door.
Yes, ma'am.
Nothing else happened. She left, she pulled back,
yes,
took off, and he went back. back into the house.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what you saw.
Yes, ma'am.
Then you got dressed and you went out to get some lab work.
Yes, ma'am.
So that took you about how long?
5 minutes, I had to put my shoes on. That's it.
So you put your shoes on, so
Yes, ma'am.
5 minutes, did you drive?
Yes, ma'am.
So you had to get into your car?
Yes, ma'am.
Start the car?
Yes, ma'am.
You looked in the garage?
When I got out,
You looked in the garage,
I looked in the garage.
and you saw damage
Yes,
to the garage?
and that's when I went into my car.
And you saw damage
And I
to the
left,
garage?
yes, ma'am.
But no fire.
No, ma'am, but yes, no fire.
No fire.
But whatever she hit caused the fire.
Who knows that? You're not a fire marshal,
Yes.
were you?
No, ma'am.
We don't know that. We know that she damaged the garage door.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't like fibbers. That doesn't mean you're guilty of anything. That doesn't mean you caused a fire. Are you telling me she made up this story?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, 100%.
I have pictures of before and after, before the fire and after the fire of my car. There's no damage
Of
to my
what?
car.
I don't care about
the
your
front of the
car.
You know
No.
what
I
I'm
don't
saying?
care about the front of your
The
car.
explosive noise that she heard was the explosion that happened in the trash can.
Listen carefully, madam. She didn't say anything that suggested you caused the fire. What she's saying is she heard you and your boyfriend arguing. She heard a bang. She saw you in the car without him. What he said to you, which I don't have to repeat, you pulled away, took off, and he went back into the house. She didn't say that she saw you start the fire. If she was going to lie to me, she would lie to me and say, and then I saw smoke. That's what she would say if she were going to lie to me. She would say, and then I was there and I saw smoke starting and I saw fire starting. If she was going to lie, why would she lie? And just tell me half a story. Doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't make sense to me either, Your Honor.
If it doesn't make sense, it's not true.
I never left the house that day. I was getting ready to go out for lunch. We were very happy. We did not have an argument that morning. We were leaving.
So, Miss Sandoval, nobody else, is this a witness?
Yeah, my husband.
Was he a witness to the fire?
No.
So nobody knows how the fire started. Perhaps the fire marshal knows. Do you have a fire report? Yeah. I'd like to see it. Doesn't say what the cause was.
No, they said it was accidental.
No, it says unintentional. Doesn't say what the cause was. Okay. So you actually, other than the fact that you have a witness that says that her car hit the garage door, you have no proof that she caused any fire inside the garage. Is that right? Great. Okay.
Your Honor, we have a witness here who can testify that she said that I hit the garage door the night before, and she was running around telling the whole...
I want you to pay attention to what I just said. She has no proof that anything that you did started the fire. What do you want to argue with me about that for?
I do not want to argue with you, but I want to make it clear that I did not hit the garage door regardless of the fire, and he can testify that she had said I hit the garage door the night before, which would prove that it's all a lie.
I don't know.
And I would really appreciate it if you could let him testify to what she said, because they said this exact story the night before, which would prove that it's a lie.
Well, I've already said whether it's proving it's a lie or not. It's not particularly relevant, but you
said
want
you
to tell me
believe
that,
it,
sir?
and it's not true.
No, what I'd like to tell you is we do investigations at work, and a couple of the tenants called me
Don't
the
listen
night.
to me. First, not so casual. Uncross your feet. Pay attention and tell me your name.
My name's Sam Postel.
Did you have a conversation on the night immediately prior to the fire with the plaintiff with regard to a garage door?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about it.
She called me about 9:30 in the evening. I went up there. She told me that the defendant ran into the garage door and broke it. I went out. I looked at the garage door. I checked all three of their cars, and there was no damage.
Okay. Do you remember having that conversation with him?
No, I never spoke to him.
Sit.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Former neighbor Dasa Frazier damaged her property when she caused a fire in a common garage. Dasa says it was Dolores who caused the fire. She is countersuing for her damages and harassment.
Okay. You have no proof that they damaged anything. Now, you have a counterclaim. Go.
I have a counterclaim in regards to property damage as well as harassment.
Well, let's talk about the property damage. Money owed for damaged property. The damaged property is a result of the fire.
Correct.
And you say that the fire was her fault.
Correct. I went over and spoke with the neighbor across the street.
Can't tell me what the neighbor said to you? That's hearsay.
Okay.
Well, you know, a fire just doesn't start on its own. You know,
no, that's...
If fire starts by, you know, either intentional or by negligence.
That's true.
So
Just a second. That's, sir, you're absolutely correct. I have to have proof of either one, either intentional or negligent.
I believe that they negligently started the fire because they were I believe that they were barbecuing outside of the garage very previously to the fire starting.
Listen, Ms. Frazier, that's not proof. I don't care what you think. I don't care what you believe. I don't care what you have an intuition about, a premonition. It's irrelevant.
Well, there were witnesses.
There were no witnesses unless they're here.
Okay.
We're in a court. We're in a court because there's evidence.
Fair enough. I did not want to be here. I was very happy when she was evicted and moved out, and I wanted to move, bringing us back here. And at this point, I wanted to countersue for harassment due to the fact that from the moment I moved in,
I have no allegations for harassment.
On the countersuit, it does say harassment for...
It says harassment.
Correct.
It says allegation, but it says harassment, but there are no allegations of harassment. This says destruction of property and harassment. In the body of your answer and countersuit, it doesn't say what they did to harass you. Now, you could tell me what they did to harass you, but if it involves hearsay, you can't tell me what it is. And if you say she was going around the neighborhood telling people whatever, that's hearsay. Do you understand?
She was directly harassing me to my face.
Well, then I'm going to allow you to get it off your chest and tell me what she was saying to you to your face.
Well, she was directly starting fights with me after the fire, blaming me that it was my
fault. Okay,
she
that's
was
not
threatening
harassment.
me, telling me she had firearms in her home, that she would handle me and make me pay for it one way or the other, making me feel unsafe in my own home, making false accusations towards me on a regular basis.
It's over. Ms. Frazier, goodbye.
It's over.
You have to have proof in a court. Neither one of you have any proof. It doesn't say it's a waste of my time. It's not a waste of your time. You may have gotten it off your chest. You may have needed somebody to say to you, without proof, you have no case. Without proof, you have no case. Do things usually start by themselves, like fires? No. Unless somebody leaves rags around, combustible, it gets very hot, there's a spark that hits a combustible rag, something may happen, there's an electrical short. Is the garage electrified? Are there outlets in there?
Nothing on that side of the
Put your
garage.
hand down. You witnessed nothing. You can sit down. So who knows how it started? But neither one of you have any proof that the other started it. You're no longer living there.
Yeah, no longer living there.
Great. Good. Thank you very much. You're still living there. Perfect. That's all. Thank you.
Why is that excused? You may step out.
I'm happy. I'm happy.
I'm satisfied with the judgment.
My husband knocked out the fire extinguisher. He hurried up and turned off the fire.
He saved Mr. Sandoval's life because he was not even thinking clearly enough, scientifically enough, that if you lift the garage door,
I see the flames coming, so I can strap to the hole.
you're going to feed oxygen to the fire and probably blow up your leaking motorcycle.
Thank God that nobody was hurt. Could have been worse.
I'm just finally glad it's over and that she's moved out and we don't have to deal with her harassment anymore.
You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Herb, would you do me a favor?
Sure.
Would you take this little boy out in the back? Is there somebody in the back who can watch him?
Most definitely.
Go with Officer Bird. He's going to take you in the back.
Thank you. Come this way.
Terrific. You never know what's going to transpire here, Mr. Warren. I assume that's your son?
Yes, ma'am.
So I don't think there's any reason for him to be here. Case is not a terribly difficult one. You rented a room in Mr. Warren's home for your son. I assume this is your son.
Yes, ma'am.
How far does Mr. Warren live from where you live?
Approximately a mile.
And how old is your son?
23.
Has your son lived with you in the past?
Yes.
For how long?
He's been living with me since May of this year.
Since May of 2013?
Yes, ma'am.
Prior to that, where was he living?
He had an apartment in the northern suburbs of Minneapolis.
And how long did he live in his apartment?
About 2-3 years.
With whom?
He lives with his girlfriend and baby.
So he has a child?
Yes, he does.
Does he work?
Yes.
At what?
He is a cook in a restaurant in town.
Who do you live with?
My significant other.
One other person. Do you have a house and a...
I have a townhome.
Just because I'm curious, Why would you rent a room in a stranger's home for a 23-year-old when you have your own home?
Because my son needs to learn some responsibility and be out on his own, not living with his mother.
Well, that's true, but that usually comes with being able to afford it.
Yes.
Because you're the plaintiff in this case, and this is your claim. You found this room.
Yes.
You went and looked at the room in Mr. Warren's home, paid him $1,000.
Yes.
And several days later, Mr. Warren changed the locks on the doors, excluding your son from being in the apartment.
This is
or
correct.
in his room.
Yes.
You want your rent back.
Yes.
Mr. Warren says that your son didn't follow the house rules. That's why he excluded him from the house. Therefore, since he breached the rules, he doesn't get the rent back. That's your defense.
It is.
Great. When did you rent the room and when did you give him the money?
We gave him the money in late October because my son was going to move in November 1st, 2013. And I gave him $1,000.
He doesn't deny that, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Good. Now I'd like to see a copy of the lease.
I do not have a copy of the lease. This was
Well,
all
I'd like to see the original lease.
There was no lease. It was done on a handshake. And and being as I work for the veterans, I still believe that a handshake
Just a second. I don't care whether you did it with or without a piece of paper. But if there was certain prescriptions, Mr. Warren, about rules in the house, that, in my judgment, has to be clear and understood. And the best and, in my judgment, only way to do that is in writing, where you present the rules, you sign them, he signs them, and the rules say that if you break the rules, you don't get your money back. Does that make sense to you?
Absolutely.
All right. So now we know how many days after the plaintiff's son moved in did you exclude him from the house?
It was approximately 5 days.
And how much was the rent per month?
$500.
So she gave you 2 months' rent.
She gave me $500 for first month and a $500 security deposit.
Okay. And there is no suggestion here at all that he damaged any of your property.
No.
So that should go back to her. At least the security deposit part of it should go back to her.
I don't believe so.
Why?
Well, the $500 in my understanding is to allow me 30 days to re-rent the room in case.
Okay. Mr. Warren, for a living, sir?
I do Venetian plaster.
You have your own company?
Yes.
You have employees?
Yes.
How many?
3.
Do you pay them on the books or off the books?
Either way.
What do you mean, either way? What
Either
does that
way.
mean? You mean some get paid by check where you deduct all the
Depends on the
relevant
individual.
taxes and
Depends on the individual and his circumstances.
Depends on the individual and the circumstances. Well, then you have this sort of easy way about rules with your business. Sometimes you comply with the rules and sometimes you don't comply with the rules. In the case of the Internal Revenue Service, Mr. Warren, they have a book of rules that starts there and ends there. So they have a very clear set of rules, Mr. Warren, unlike the rules in your household now, or requiring 30-day notice. So I don't care what your understanding is of a security deposit. If you wanted the security deposit to be for 30 days to re-rent the room under any circumstances, then you put it in a written lease.
Absolutely.
Which you didn't do. So that's number one. Most people believe that a 30-day notice, even if you had been entitled to a 30-day notice, is when the tenant says to you, I'm moving out, as opposed to you're kicking them out. If you kick them out, how can they give you a 30-day notice? That's kind of hard, right?
Yeah.
So you see how foolish you sound, Mr. Warren. You see why I excluded your kid from the courtroom?
Sure.
Right. Because even I would feel somewhat compelled to restrain myself in the presence of your child. But when I read your answer to this case and you said I kicked them out, and I did kick them out in 5 days, and I kept their money.
Yeah,
I said, this is not, I don't understand this. So now you know where I'm coming from, Mr. Warren. Now you have 30 seconds to convince me about your defense. I'm all ears.
My defense would be the 30-day notice. It didn't allow me 30 days to, to have the room rented, to put the ad back in to the paper, to have at least 30 days, which, it cut me down to about 3 weeks. Smoking in the back bedroom, and, there were rules. There were no written rules. but they were very, very verbalized and very understood among the both of them. And they were
Well, you want to tell me about them, sir? They were understood by you. I mean, I'm not saying that he was right. Clearly, his mother wants him to be responsible, so she wants him out of her house.
Has never smoked in a house.
Don't speak. Don't speak.
Yes,
you know, I want to tell you something. I get it, but I also get moving my 23-year-old irresponsible child, 23-year-old irresponsible child who has a kid who's 23 and looking for his mother to pay his rent. Do you understand? I get the whole picture over here. You still got to give you your money back. All right, so I've explained to you, let's deal with the 30 days. I've already explained to you that only applies to tenants. It doesn't apply to landlords locking out their tenants. Do you understand? All right. Next, he's smoking in the back bedroom, and that was against your rules. What's next?
The circumstance amongst us living is my son and I live together. We're very involved with sports. We do it all week long, and we're just consumed with it. It's my son and I. The circumstance that he was in, he's got a son, a young son, around the same age or a couple of years younger. I thought that this would be a good fit for him, you know, to allow him to... Faster?
Rules. I want to know rules. This is not a therapy session.
No smoking in the house. Nobody other than himself could be a tenant in the house. I mean, I don't want to rent to a couple.
And
the first 3 days he was there, he had what appeared to be an underage girl, very young.
I don't want you to speak.
All right.
Because, A, you don't know that. You don't know that if it was a girl, if it was an underage girl, if he had a girl there or not, because you weren't there. If you wanted to know if he had a girl in his room, you should have let him stay in your house.
Oh, no, thank you. No,
Oh,
I won't have that. I won't have that in my house.
Neither did he. Neither did he want that in his house. Come on, keep going.
So I didn't want to rent to a couple.
I got you. You didn't want to rent to a couple.
He's in the back bedroom with a girl.
Fooling around, messing around in the bedroom with your kid around. Got it.
And
what's next?
And smelling
and
smoke.
sports and smoking and everything else. Don't rent to anybody. And if you do, set out the rules. These are the house rules. If you violate the rules, we're going to terminate the tenancy. That's what you do. That's what you do. But you can't deal with a tenant like you deal with the IRS, sir. You have to return her money. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
You know, just all the women that he was having, I think he's, you know, a part-time gigolo.
Only one, and honestly, of the 3 days that I was there, I probably spent the night there once with her.
I just think that she needs to, you know, stop enabling him, and he needs to be responsible and an adult now.
Yes, because he's 23, he needs to be out on his own.
Definitely be a written contract.
We have learned something from this, and that he knows that he needs to have things in writing.
Sir, have a seat.
Mr. Graziani, it is your claim that you lived in Miss Bryce's home for a short period of time.
Yes, ma'am, I have.
A month and a half?
Yes, ma'am.
You paid her rent?
Yes, ma'am.
You knew each other through someone else?
Yep.
You claim that after a disagreement one evening, was it over birthday?
It was after her birthday. We came back from Boston.
And after this birthday celebration, you had an argument, and she locked you out of the house, and you claim kept your stuff.
Yep.
When did you move into her house?
10/20 to 10/25 in 2013. And
you moved in October?
Yes, ma'am.
Of 2013.
Yes, ma'am.
And how do you know Miss Bryce?
I had an ex-girlfriend. Her name was Carl. She was best friends with her, and I was, you know, I had nowhere to go, so I stayed with my ex-girlfriend. I stayed there for a while. Didn't work out. I left, went to my godmother's house, knowing that I had nowhere else to go. My godmother was having problems of her own, some drug problems. Then Miss Bryce, you know, she said I can move in with her, so I did. Packed up all my things. My godbrother was there with me the day. He packed up all my stuff with me, put it in her van that I used.
In her van?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of van does she own?
2004 Chrysler.
Is the registration in her name?
Yes, ma'am.
Who drove the van?
I did.
And that was about the 20th to the 25th?
Yes, ma'am.
What did you put in her van?
I put 12 bins in her van with my godbrother. It had my clothes, it had TV, PlayStation, everything.
Well, the TV wasn't in a bin.
No, it wasn't no bin. No, ma'am.
So I'm asking you, what did you put in the van?
Bins, a TV, most likely just all my belongings that I had, ma'am.
When you moved it into her house, in which room did you put it?
I put it downstairs. She has 2 closets downstairs. I put everything I can in there. Half of my things couldn't fit. I had to try to make the best of it. I put some upstairs in her daughter's room, And
What did you put in her daughter's room?
a radio system that my mother got from me for Christmas.
So that was in the daughter's room, a radio.
Yep.
And downstairs in the closet, you put everything else?
The bins, the TV, everything else fit in there. From there, I was sleeping downstairs in her living room for a while.
Sleeping downstairs, is that the same level as where your things were stored?
Yes, ma'am.
Was that in a basement?
No.
That's on a first level?
Yes, ma'am.
Where were you sleeping?
In her couch.
What was the date of the birthday celebration in Boston?
I really don't remember that one. All I know is that when we came back, all this went down. I asked her for my property. She wouldn't give it back to me. I asked her really nicely. She kept saying that she didn't have my stuff. I called the police officers. When we was in Boston, she threatened me with her cousin, trying to say she was going to shoot me. I already made a police report about it. From
You
there...
have that police report?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
I'd like to take a look at it. Ms. Bryce, how did the 2 storage bins that you say you had in your house that belonged to Mr. Graziani, how did they get there?
He brought them with me.
He brought them with you?
Mm-hmm.
How?
I picked him up from his godmother's house with me and my best friend Cindy. We went there to pick him up. He then had 2 bins. I put them in my car, and we brought them to my house. I don't know who that guy is. Never seen him day in my life.
And when did you bring the 2 bins to your house?
My daughter's birthday is October 23rd. We had a birthday party, so it must have been the 26th.
Mr. Graziani, you ever sleep on your couch?
No, nobody sleeps on my couch. No, but not even my kids.
Your answer is, he never lived in my house. He had 2 storage bins, which I gave back to him.
He came with cops.
And I don't have any of his other property, and he never lived in my house. How long do you say you lived there, sir?
For a month and a half, ma'am.
I have my lease. He's not on my lease. I'm married. My husband would not allow him to live in my house. I have 4 kids.
I don't care what you...
3 of them are girls. I would not let some stranger live in my house.
Well, he wasn't a stranger.
He came to my cousin. He wasn't like a friend of mine.
Miss Bryce, you know, there are certain things that make sense and certain things that don't. If you went, picked up his stuff, put them in your truck, which is what you acknowledged that you did, then he wasn't a stranger. What's your... Listen to me carefully. What's your husband's name?
George.
Where is he now?
In the back.
Would you get him, please?
You follow me.
Afternoon, Your Honor.
Clerk, would you swear the witness, please?
Sure. Sir, raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth in these matters?
I do.
State your name for the record, please.
George Bryce.
Mr. Bryce, I'm going to ask you a series of questions, sir.
Okay.
I want you to tell me where you were staying regularly during the month of September. It's not so long ago.
No, it's not so long ago. I was staying, I actually left the house, was it like the 2nd week in September?
2nd week in September. And where did you go, Mr. Bryce?
To Rhode Island.
You went to Rhode Island for what?
Job opportunity.
Doing what?
Construction.
How long did you stay in Rhode Island, sir?
I'm actually still there, so.
So you're still in Rhode Island?
Yeah.
And who are you living with in Rhode Island?
I live with a friend, and I have family in Rhode Island too, so.
And you are the father of the 4 children?
Yes.
What do you mean, yes? What does that mean?
I'm the father of the youngest child. I'm the father to all of them, though, since I'm married.
What?
I said I'm the father of the youngest child.
The youngest one?
Yes.
How old is the youngest one?
10 months.
10 months?
Yes.
And you're not the father of the other 3?
No, not biologically.
So how old was the baby when you went to Rhode Island?
7 months.
Between September, when you left to go to Rhode Island to do your construction job, and today, how many times did you see the baby?
I've seen her a couple times. She would make trips out there to go see her mom, so.
So you saw her a couple of times?
Yeah, I don't know exactly
Listen.
how many times.
Not that many times. How many? Once?
More than once.
Twice?
More than twice.
3 times?
Possibly more than 3 times.
Well, you saw the baby when your wife brought her to Rhode Island?
Yes. I believe I was also.
Now you can sit down. Okay. So, Miss Bryce, so it's clear to me that when you said to me, I'm married, I have a husband and 4 children, that your husband wasn't in the house when he claims that you lived there during the month of October, November. So I don't know whether you were trying to be misleading to me.
No, I asked
No,
him.
just whether you were trying to mislead me that your husband was in the house with your 4 children.
I didn't say he was in the house. I said I was married and I had 4 kids. I didn't say he was in the house.
I said, well, what difference does it make if you're married if your husband isn't home?
Because I talked to my husband. He's my husband, so if anything would have went down, I would have asked him or talked to my husband.
Okay. Anything else you want to tell me?
Ma'am, I do have proof that she was hitting me up with the, I had an iPod that she's hit me up with, saying that she had my things, she was at Rhode Island.
Oh, I have the same message because he was mailing me from the same exact phone with the same number. So he did that.
That's a lie.
I don't even have an iPod.
Okay. Don't speak to each other, please.
I can give you my phone.
Don't speak to each other.
Probably the same number that he has on there.
It has my social security number and everything. Who does something like that?
Social security number?
What? Were you in Boston with your wife for a birthday celebration? Look at me carefully, sir.
No.
Look, stand up, and you keep your mouth shut.
Okay.
Stand up. Look at me. Were you in Boston with your wife on a birthday? Or no?
No.
No. Who was she there with?
I don't know if she went to Boston. What?
Sit. Well, it's a very simple case. I have to decide which of the two of your stories that I believe. That you were living there. I'm speaking. Don't speak now.
Yes, ma'am.
That you were living there. You lived there for a month. You had an argument with her about something. You don't even know about what.
It wasn't with
I'm speaking.
Sorry.
Or she says she doesn't know what you're talking about. You're psychotic because you never lived in her house. You never slept in her house. She doesn't let anybody sleep on her couch.
That is a
That's
lie.
what she says. I don't believe her at all. I don't believe her at all. I believe what you told me. Some of what you told me was true because you didn't know where I was going, right? Nah, that's why I got you in here from the back. Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. You want a stuff? You got a stuff. That's all. Thank you.
These are excuses. You may step out.
She's who she is. She's a gold digger. She's a deadbeat.
He has 5 restraining orders against 5 different girls. That's how crazy he is.
You know, she was a good friend for a while, and then from there, it all went downhill.
He's crazy, yes.
She's a fake person. She just wants money from people, and then it is what it is.
Done. Happy. He can have his money. Good luck.
Never to go back to her ever again for no help.
This is a relatively easy contract case. The subject matter may be a little unusual, but the case shouldn't be. Mr. Bailey, do you make your living doing magic?
I do now, yes.
Now, since when?
Since 1989.
That's an odd answer, then. I mean, because that's a long time ago. When I said, do you do magic as a living? If you do it since 1989, that's a very long time. Do you do magic alone to make a living?
Yes.
And you've been doing that since 1989?
Correct.
You do that on your own, or you have a troupe, or is it just you?
I started a nonprofit organization that helps me to put shows together, veteran shows, fundraisers for Native American causes, as well as for school assemblies.
Are you registered with the government as a nonprofit organization?
Yes, I have a 501c3.
What's the name of the organization?
Linking Rings Performing Arts.
Did you draw a salary?
No.
How do you support yourself?
From the shows that we get and the sponsors that we...
Well, explain. So you're a 501c3 corporation.
Correct.
That you started in 1989 to put on shows for various groups of people.
I do fundraisers for them.
How do you make your money?
I make my money based on if it's a production that I need to buy illusions for, I go to the foundations or sponsors, they give us money, and then I also get the money for my salary from the different foundations. Or
what foundations?
Like there was one that
I want you to give me a very clear example, Mr. Bailey, of how since 1989 you support yourself from this 501c3 corporation. I want to understand it because I like to learn new things, but I'm, thick. So you're going to have to explain it to me like a child, like I'm not a lawyer. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am. What I do is I would go to a foundation or to a sponsor, corporate sponsor, tell them that I'd like to have you give us the money for us to do this production. Included in the production is also a fee, which is a reduced fee for myself.
For you. So you go to, let's say, American Express, and say to American Express, I want to put on a magic production for the American Legion in San Francisco. That production is going to cost $50,000. Will you sponsor the production?
Correct.
And they give you $50,000, and from that $50,000, you draw a portion of that for your own income.
Correct.
For either performing the magic trick and or putting together the production.
Correct.
Okay. What percentage do you draw from the sponsor? It's either a percentage or a flat figure.
It's a flat figure, and it's usually $500.
How many of these do you do a year?
I'm budgeted for 10, and then I make the rest of my income on it's not through the nonprofit at all. It's shows that I pick up along the way, whether it be birthday parties or...
Okay. Well, now we're getting, you know. Eventually I get the story, Mr. Bailey. So you perform yourself at other functions, birthday party, an anniversary party, a bar mitzvah, an upscale funky wedding, and for that you are paid as an individual.
Correct.
I've used magicians at parties of my own very often, but if you're budgeted for 10 performances at $500, that a living does not make since 1989.
Yes.
What's the name of your individual company?
Tamaka's Magical Tour, Magical Tales.
Tamaka's Magical Tales.
Yes, in the magic performance that I do, it has a theme of Native American storytelling.
Now, you had a magic trick.
Correct.
That he wanted.
That's correct.
Mr. Bailey gave you some money.
Yes.
For this trick.
Yes.
Well, I think they don't call it a trick anymore. That has a negative connotation. They call it an illusion.
An illusion, yes.
As we get older, we know more and more about illusions. How long have you been in that business?
Well,
That's not a hard question. 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years.
Since I was 13, so yeah.
So you've been building
years.
things for a long time.
Yes.
And Mr. Bailey gave you some money to build this illusion that he had seen.
Correct.
How much money did Mr. Bailey give you?
Well.
No, not a well.
Okay.
Look here. Okay. A well is not a number. How much money did he give you?
It was $64.50 deposit.
$64.50.
Yeah, $64.50.
Did you contract?
There was no written contract because I had already prototyped this specific illusion.
I just don't tell me because.
Yeah.
He gave you $64.50 for what?
This particular illusion that he had seen advertised, and his contract was through a mediator, a retailer that I was selling them through.
So let me try, you people are all trying to confuse an old lady and double talk me. Mr. Bailey saw a trick. We're going to get down to basics now.
Yes.
Saw a trick in a retail establishment. He did a little research. He found out that you were the one who made the trick.
They pointed him in my direction, yes, ma'am.
I don't know what they did, but it seems stupid as for a retailer to say, listen, don't buy the trick from me. Go to the person who makes it for me and cut me out.
Well, I drop ship everything for them, Your Honor.
So what you're saying is he pays retail price.
Correct.
He personally gave you his check, or did it come through someone else?
It was through his nonprofit foundation.
Oh, I'm already not liking this. I'm already not liking this. So let's understand this. The check you got came from your 501c3 organization, and that money is money that you get from Amex to put on shows for organizations that would otherwise not be able to have those things. But the majority of your money is made from doing magic privately,
correct,
not through this. So why would you use 501c3 money to pay for this magic trick?
Because the magic tricks that I use, or effects that I use, I guess is an illusion, are just to focus on the nonprofit the ones that I do for nonprofit, because by technically they own the
baloney. That's baloney. According to you, if I believe everything that you said to me, you take a $500 fee, Mr. Bailey, and you're budgeted, I don't know what that means, for a maximum of 10 performances a year. That's $5,000. And you gave him, according to this, $64.50. So something is not making sense to me.
Well, what I did, I have the check right here. of the amount that we gave. It was under the understanding that I was going to the sponsor to pay for the balance.
Why would you go to the sponsor to pay for anything? You were going to use it for private purposes. Why would you ask a foundation to pay for anything that you're going to do privately? That doesn't make sense. It's very smart. But
what it is the show that we were doing was at the American Legion. What
you were going to do one show with this trick is what you're telling me?
No, it was going to be more than one show.
Two shows. 5 shows.
Correct. It was going to be put in the act, except for the acts that I was going to do on my own, because I have a separate set of illusions just for that. Matter of fact, I don't even have illusions.
Mr. Bailey, I want to tell you something. I'm not buying what you're giving me, because it sounds like an illusion to me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Magician Robert Bailey says illusion builder David Pavlov owes for the return of money he paid for an illusion.
Mr. Bailey, I want you to pay careful attention to me.
Yes, ma'am.
The hairs on the back of my neck are standing up. That's never a good sign for you. You can either have me finish this case, or you can go back to small claims court and sue Mr. Pavlov, and I will dismiss your case without prejudice. Because I'm telling you right now, this case is going to take a lot longer, with a lot more paperwork than you got there in front of you. And quite frankly, you're not going to wind up with the answer that you want from me. Because when you have a 501c3 corporation, that means that whatever you do, you're really doing from here. You're not doing it for here, you're doing it from here. So I think that this is sort of a gray overlapping between charity and not. And I don't want Mr. Pavlov to get away with anything, because if he in fact took the money and didn't provide you with the piece of equipment that you want, you should be entitled to it back. And he should not be able to profit from that. However, if what you are using are funds that I find sort of suspect, I'm not going to make that dirty hand clean. So I would strongly recommend, Mr. Bailey, that you go back and try to convince another judge someplace else. Not this one. She's too much of a hard egg. That by you using 501c3 funds to buy a magic trick for so far $6,500.
The total amount was $19,000.
I don't care what it was. So total amount, $19,000. So you got a sponsor to pay $19,000. That's what you were looking for, to buy a magic trick. It's not going to play with me. And I don't like him to get away with anything, because I think that he owes you some money, or he owes somebody some money, and I don't know who. So I think you should go back. Try to square it away. You're not going to square it away with me. Go back someplace else. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Is that excused? You may step out.
For 2 years, I've had the illusion. They want their money back. I'm saying I fulfilled my part of the agreement.
It's sawing a person into thirds, and it's not your assistant, it's an audience member.
He's a consummate professional.
It's making me feel bad. I should next time learn from this that I'm not a very good of character.
And now the next case.
Brother?
Yes.
How?
Cousins.
Your first name is?
Don.
It is your claim that your cousin, your first name is?
Frederick.
That Frederick owes you for bail.
Yes.
And Frederick says, well, the reason he got arrested in the first place is because of you. So that's why he doesn't owe you for bail. And he never made a contract with you to pay the bail. So you want to tell me on what date you were arrested, Frederick?
I believe it was July 13th, 2012. 13.
What were you arrested for?
I had a warrant that I didn't know anything about.
A warrant for what?
Actually, my ex-wife is no longer married now. We had a joint custody, a joint account, and she, I guess, embezzled a check from her job and told me it was her bonus check, so I allowed her to put it into our account. And a couple years later, I figured out when I get arrested that it was a bad check, so they were looking for both of us. So that's how I found out I had a warrant.
So that you were arrested for bank fraud?
Correct.
What happened to that case?
It's dismissed on my behalf.
But with regard to you, it was dismissed?
Yes.
Great. And that warrant was from what state?
California.
And you were arrested in what state?
California.
Now, you were in the car when Frederick was arrested.
Correct.
You were driving?
Yes.
You were in the passenger seat?
Yes.
Were you also there?
No, I wasn't there, but you know what? It's really his fault why he's...
Sit. I'll get to you in a minute. You were driving around with your cousin.
Yes.
And you got pulled over.
Correct.
For what?
The officer said my music was too loud.
So you were blasting your radio.
Well, I didn't have my music on, but that's what he said.
Does your car have a top that goes down?
No.
So you had your windows open.
Yes.
And your radio was blaring.
No, my radio wasn't on. But the reason why the officer stopped me is because of my car. I have big rims on my car. So that's pretty much racial profiling. That's why I got pulled over.
Well, that's not what Frederick says. Cousin Frederick says that's not why you got stopped. Frederick says you got stopped because...
Your Honor.
Out. You have one last chance.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
Don't speak unless I speak to you.
Yes, ma'am.
Frederick says that you got stopped because you were driving sort of erratically.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
And your music was blaring.
Yes, ma'am.
That's why the police officer pulled you over.
Correct.
And when the police officer pulled you over, he asked for the identification of both of you.
Correct.
And the warrant fell on you.
Yes, ma'am. When he got back and told me I had a warrant and I okay.
Okay. Did the officer let you keep your car?
Yes. And he wrote me a ticket.
Wrote you a ticket for?
Loud music.
Loud music. So the only one that didn't hear your loud music was him.
Well, when I went to court, the judge threw it out.
Did the officer show up?
Yes, he did.
Did he testify?
Yes, he did.
And what was the result?
I was found not guilty.
Do you have that?
No, I don't.
Then I don't know if that's true. It would seem to me something you would want to bring with you. Okay. Anyway, so you're arrested. And what happened when your cousin Frederick was arrested, Mr. Connor?
When we got pulled over, it was actually July 12th, not 13th. It was July 12th.
What happened?
When we got pulled over, they ran our name.
I'm there already.
No, I'm trying to tell you what happened. Frederick looked at me and said, I have a warrant out for my arrest. He took the lock off his phone. He said, when I get arrested, contact my girlfriend, Sparkle, so she can have the bail money to bail me out. So when he got stopped, he knew he had a warrant. So after they wrote me a ticket, they took him out of the car, and they let me go on my way after they wrote me a ticket. I contact Sparkle and say, hey, Frederick got arrested. She said, what's going on? I said, they stopped me for loud music or whatnot. I contact his mother, which is my auntie, Quan. I gave a Sparkle number. Between them two, they got the bail bondsman, figured out what everything was going to be, and Sparkle wound up wiring me $200 Western Union to actually go bail Frederick out. But at first, I thought my auntie was going to do it. I asked her, but I said, are you going to bail him out? It was an awkward silence on the phone. I should have knew that was a red light, not the cosign, but I kind of felt kind of bad because I didn't see my cousin in like 6 to 8 months, and he got arrested when he was with me. So that's when I went down and actually co-signed for the bail. And after that, I picked him up the next day, which was the July 13th, and he said, you don't have to worry about anything. I'm going to take care of the payments. Thanks for looking out for me.
Did you take care of the payments?
No. And the reason why I didn't take care of the payments is because he felt guilty that we got pulled over in the first place because of his loud music, after the fact that I told him numerous times to turn it down because he was going to draw attention because he has the big rims. And I know how it operates out there. I grew up there longer than he has, so I was trying to put him up on game. And when we did get pulled over, I didn't give him my phone until the officer came back and told me I had a warrant. And I argued with that officer. It was like, no, there's no warrant. Can you go back and run my name? And he says, no, get out the car. That's when I gives him my phone and say, okay, call my girl and then do this and do that.
My question to you is, listen to me very carefully.
I hear you.
On the 13th of July, when your cousin came to pick you up, did you tell him that you would take care of the payments?
No, ma'am.
Have you ever been arrested before?
Yes.
Have you ever been bailed out before?
Yes.
Do you know about payments to the bail bondsman?
Yes.
So you've made payments to bail bondsmen in the past?
Correct.
My question is, why didn't you make payments this time to the bail bondsman?
Because he agreed to do it because he felt a little guilty.
Tell me what he said to you.
He was like, don't worry about the same thing he tried to tell you that I so-called said is what he said. He was like, cuz I understand, I feel bad because I should have listened to you, I shouldn't have been blasting that music like that, but if it make you feel a little better, I'll take care of this, and then that way you won't have to, be angry at me and we won't be beefing. That's what he said, that way we won't be beefing. So with that being in mind, a couple months later, I'm getting sued.
Well, I never said that. The first initial payment was for me which the $200. The second payment, which was made August 5th.
The first initial payment was from Sparkle.
Yeah, it was Sparkle, but it's under my name. It's under my name. I had to. I co-signed. The second one, which was August 5th, is under his name. This is the paper right here.
May I see it, please? Frederick, did you make a payment? Frederick?
Yes.
Did you make a payment?
Yes. For $200. Just from my girl.
No, it wasn't from Sparkle. That's a different payment. Did you make a payment? It's got your name on it. In August.
In August?
Did you make a payment?
Did you make a payment in my name? I didn't.
No.
I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. I didn't want nothing to do with it after what he said. I was totally comfortable with him.
Listen to me. Sparkle made a $200 payment. He signed for the bail. He didn't. Somebody else with your name paid the bail bondsman again in August another $200. Who do you think that was?
I can tell you.
What?
I said I can tell you.
Well, why don't you tell me?
It wasn't him. He wired the money to my uncle Orlando, which paid it on his behalf for him.
Did you wire money to your uncle Orlando?
I did not.
Did you wire any money to any relative?
I did not.
Did your mother?
I have no idea.
Did Sparkle?
She only just wired $200. And if someone else went in on my behalf, my uncle or for saying put it in my name, I had no idea. I'm studying getting harassed from this guy, so I didn't know anything else was going on.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Connor says his cousin, Frederick Connor, owes for bail money after he was arrested on a warrant.
Okay. How much is the rest of the bail?
It's $1,115.
Can I see that bird, please?
I got a paper saying they was going to garnish my wages, so I actually went down there and I talked to the guy, the bail bondsman guy, and I explained to him that I work, I have stuff that's already coming out of my check, but if he can just bear with me until I get my taxes, I will pay the rest in full. But right now, I can't afford to have $200 coming out of my check each pay period. I can't afford that right now.
But Your Honor, it was his decision.
You know, Frederick, sometimes it's very hard to get rid of an ex-wife.
Yeah, it is.
I understand.
Years after the torture is over, comes back and bites you, right?
I totally agree.
And that's why you told me you had this warrant.
Yes.
But I want you to feel this way at the end of this case, because I'm going to rule in his favor for $1,115. You may not have had a lot of pleasure from your ex-wife, but he had zero pleasure from your ex-wife. Nothing. I assume that that's correct.
Yes,
I hope so. It better be.
It's correct. It's correct.
Judgment for the plaintiff, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He agreed to pay for it, and then all of a sudden,
The truth prevailed.
he feel like he can't afford it. Now it's back on me.
That's still my cousin. I love him dearly, but you know, next time you go to jail, don't call me. I ain't gonna bail you out.
He can't call me no more. I don't want nothing else to do with him. With family, that's it. He burned the bridge.
He says burn bridge. It is what it is. I still love him. You know, over time, wounds are healed. I mean, life goes on.
Seated. Have a seat.
Ms. Dattle, the defendant is your former boyfriend. It is you and kept some of your stuff when he kicked you out of the apartment that you were staying with him.
Yes, that's correct.
What was the date of this incident?
December 15th.
And how long had you been staying with him?
We have been on and off for about 2.5 years.
Is this his apartment?
It was his grandmother's home. We were staying in like a loft in his grandmother's garage.
So it was his place. Somebody was going to leave. It was going to be you.
Yes.
Because when you were off, you went and stayed at your house or some other relative's house, and he stayed in his grandmother's
I went
loft.
to my mother's.
Fine. So he stayed in his loft. So this was his house. And in December of 2013, how long had you been on?
About 6 months. We got back together in July.
And from July of 2013 until December 15th, you stayed together.
Yes,
Is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, you want to tell me what happened on December 15th?
Yes, I would like to. I was just laying in bed and everything. I could not fall asleep that night. It was around 2 o'clock in the morning, and he woke up and was like, how come you're not asleep? And I have insomnia, so I couldn't fall asleep really and everything. So I told him that I would try, and I was shutting the TV off, and he got mad at me.
Okay, just a second. You were watching TV. He was sleeping. Turned around and said, what's the matter? You said, I can't fall asleep. Then what happened?
I proceeded to try to fall asleep. I told him that I turned the TV off, laid down in bed, and he got mad. I wasn't falling asleep when he wanted me to, and proceeded to push me and stuff out of the bed.
Is that what happened?
No, ma'am.
What happened?
After she wouldn't go to sleep, after the TV was off, I just pretty much told her go to sleep, was upset, you know, because the TV's playing in the background loud, and I just rolled over and went to bed.
Just a second. She turned the TV off.
Yeah.
Had you said anything to her about the TV being on?
Oh, yeah, that it should be off. She should be in bed.
I mean, I was missing that part of it, because that sounds like a logical thing. She's got the TV on, and you would get up and say, turn off the TV and go to sleep. That's normal. I mean, I'm not so sure if this whole couple is normal, but that would be a normal thing to say.
Yeah.
You know, turn the TV off. I mean, it's something that I would say to my husband. When I'm ready to go to sleep, turn off the TV.
Yeah.
And if you want to watch the TV, go someplace else.
Pretty much, yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah. So now she turned the TV off. And?
And after she turned the TV off, I rolled over and went back to bed.
And?
And she proceeded to text on her phone or do whatever after that. All I know is I fell asleep to clicking noises.
To clicking noises on her phone?
Yeah.
And then?
And stuff. And then woke up the next morning to her phone going off. It was going off and going off. And I pick up her phone, and it says her cousin Brianna. Okay, well, I pick up the phone. I wonder why she's calling. Well, it's not her cousin Brianna, it's a guy. There's a guy, and she had it under her cousin's name. And there's 2 different Briannas in her phone, and, well, one of them's a guy.
And now, you're both still in bed?
She was still sleeping. This was early a.m. I woke up to her phone going off. And
to her phone going off?
Yeah, to her phone. It was going off at least 6 times. And I finally had enough, so I went and I answered it, you know, because it was her cousin.
Got it.
I seen it was her cousin. I answered it, and I said, hello. And the person on the phone was a guy.
Okay, but she's still sleeping?
Yes.
Okay, so what do you do next?
I ask who it is, and he says nothing, and he hangs up the phone.
And what do you do next?
I go over to her, and I say...
bed?
In bed. I wake her up.
How did you do that?
I shook her just like this to wake her up.
You shook her?
I was upset. I didn't do it.
I got it.
You know,
no, I got it.
Just to wake her up.
You
She's
shook
a
her.
hard sleeper. Yeah, she usually sleeps till noon, so it's a hard sleep. Sorry.
You shook her, she got up, and?
Yes. And then I proceeded to tell her what had just happened. I answered the phone. There was a guy. What's going on? She got huffy in a fit, and after she got huffy, I said,
no, don't tell me she got huffy. Tell me what she did.
She was getting upset and yelling and saying, no, that's a bunch of... And I can explain, and I said, no. I said, this is it. This is the 3rd time this kind of thing's happened. I found texts on her phone before.
Okay, fine. That's your problem. You should have... One time would be...
I said, you need to get your stuff, and you need to be gone.
And?
And she got her stuff and called her grandma and left.
Okay, so she called her grandmother on her phone?
Yes, on her phone.
Didn't call the police?
No, didn't call the police.
Called her grandmother. Her grandmother came and got her?
Yes.
When she was leaving, what did she take with her?
Everything except for maybe one article of clothing, like a pair of jeans.
Do you have anything in your house that belongs to her? I want you to say, don't. Listen to me.
Like I said,
you listen to me. Listen to me. So far, you're doing all right, right? So far, you're doing all right. You don't want to not do all right.
No.
What do you have in your house that belongs to her?
The only thing I know of is maybe a pair of jeans and maybe a shirt.
What about this toolbox of hers?
She took that with her when she left.
What is it?
It's an ITT Tech blue toolbox.
What else did she take when she left?
Her bags. She only had 2 or 3 bags, and they were with clothing and sundries, whatever else.
How much time passed between the time she called her grandmother and her grandmother came for her?
About 30 minutes.
What were you doing in the 30 minutes that it took for your grandmother to get to the house?
In the 30
you understand, you did say your grandmother came to pick you up.
Yes, my grandmother came to pick me up.
And how far away? How far away does your grandmother live?
About a half an hour from where he was living.
So that's about right.
Yes.
And when you called your grandmother, what did you say to her?
I had called my grandmother and I had told
Don't look over here.
I called my grandmother and I told her that he had just been abusive to me the night before. He kicked me in my nose and I had blood spatters on my pants to prove it.
Just what did you say to your grandmother?
And I asked my grandmother if she would come pick me up because I no longer wanted to be here anymore.
And she came?
She came.
Now, what did you do between the time you called your grandmother and the time she came to get you.
I asked his grandmother if she would come with me to the loft that we were staying in so that I could pack my stuff.
Just a second. So you left the loft.
left.
Did you call your grandmother from the loft?
No, I called my grandmother from his grandmother's place.
On your cell phone? Mm-hmm. And you asked his grandmother to come up with you?
Because I was scared to be around him at the time, and so I asked her to come up there with me.
You just told me a second ago that this assault where he kicked you in the nose happened that night. Pay attention to what you just told me. You just told me it happened that night. You called your grandmother to pick you up in the morning?
It happened at 2:30 in the morning.
So. What time did you call your grandmother to come and get you?
I called my grandmother around 10:30 to come get me.
In the morning?
Yes.
What were you doing between 2:30 and 10:30?
I was sleeping away from him.
You were sleeping?
Yeah, because
So if you were sleeping, what did you have to go downstairs to call your grandmother for?
I woke up and I wanted to get away from him because...
Why didn't you leave at 2:30 in the morning?
I had no way to be able... I had no ride or no transportation.
You called the same grandmother that you called at 10:30 in the morning after you got finished sleeping.
She wouldn't have came and picked me up at 2:30 in the morning.
Do you think that I believe all this nonsense? I don't believe the whole story. If I'm in a relationship with somebody and he assaults me at 2:30 in the morning, what I don't do is go to sleep until 10:30 in the morning. I may call 911 and say, please, can you send a police officer to come and get me? Or I may call my grandmother. Who are you?
Your Honor, may I...
Who are you?
I'm her mother.
Okay. Or I'm with you to court today. Maybe you could call your mother. But at least you could call the police. I certainly wouldn't take a snooze around somebody who had assaulted me.
Your Honor, if I could
You can't. Unless you were there. Unless you were there.
I was not there. I was there for after all.
I don't care about after. I don't care about after.
I was after...
I don't care about after. I care about what your daughter was doing. If I believed what she said, what she was doing from 2:30 in the morning until 10:30 in the morning, and she said to me she was sleeping.
Well, Your Honor, she was sleeping because she was comfortable at...
Goodbye.
Can I just...
You can, if you're quiet.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Holly Dowdle says ex-boyfriend Zachary Stores owes for the return of her belongings and an assault. Zachary claims Holly is making up a story.
So the whole thing doesn't make sense to me. If it doesn't make sense, it's not true.
I have medical reports saying I've gone to the doctor's for everything and a domestic violence protection order.
Does he have a protective order against you?
No, I have one against him.
Do you have a protective order? Did you have a trial?
Yes.
Did you testify at the trial?
Yes, I did.
Did you testify at the trial?
Yes, I did.
I'll see the order. And the police report.
I didn't get a police report. That's all they would give me.
Did you go to the police?
Yes. And I tried to get one, and it's 60 days for me to be able to get it and everything. So that's what I brought was that.
I want to see what you filed to get this protective order.
I don't have that.
And I can't help you. He's got some jeans and a shirt that belong to you.
He has my toolbox. I have the receipt for my toolbox from school. I do not have this toolbox. It was left under the bed, and I forgot about it because he put it under the bed when he was cleaning up the room. That's the only reason why I'm really here.
Says he doesn't have it anymore. Did you ever have it after she left?
No. She took everything with her.
I did not take my toolbox with me.
Ma'am,
oh, my grandma.
Your Honor, can you look at the picture, please?
Please excuse me, step out.
I think she ruled the verdict correct.
He's completely lying.
Everything she said was practically a lie out there.
I was scared. I didn't have anything. I just went into his grandparents' house and slept.
She was lying about me having her toolbox, me kicking her.
Like, I was in shock. I didn't even really think about calling the police.
Because she's lying. Just plain out lying.
I just wanted to be away from him.
All the everything. It's like, what's going on, you know?
So he goes, I'm going to call the cops on you. And next thing I know, I get kicked in the face.
Not fall for somebody like that.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Dayton versus Miller, step forward.
23-year-old Tina Dayton is suing her former child care provider, Bessie Miller, for the return of her deposit and lost wages. Tina says her daughter was terminated from the program because she wasn't potty trained.
Miss Dayton, the defendant was a daycare provider for your 4-year-old.
Yes.
And she took care of your daughter once a week. That was the arrangement.
Yes.
She terminated her care for your daughter by giving you a written letter indicating she was no longer prepared to take care of your daughter over some potty training issues.
Yes.
And you want your deposit back.
Yes, plus the $90 for inconvenience.
Right now, I'm the one who's inconvenienced. Okay. When did your daughter start with Miss Miller's daycare?
It was the 13th of March.
And how many days did she attend?
A total of 4.
How much per day was it?
It was $35 a day.
So far, is that all correct?
No.
What is incorrect?
The dates that she was in my care.
Okay. So her mother says she was there for 4 days. I'd like you to show me what your records indicate.
I do have a contract.
I didn't ask you for a contract. I said to you, her mother, who should know whether she was in daycare or not, says she was in daycare with you for 4 days. You say, no, she wasn't there for 4 days. So I said, show me.
She was in my care from March 4th till April 5th.
How many days was she in your care?
2 days a week for the duration of the month. I mean,
Well, Miss Miller, I don't know how you run your business, but if I were taking care of children, I would have a book that indicates each child was there and what hour they arrived and what hour they left. Do you keep and maintain such records? You should. And if you have them, I'd like to see them. And if you don't have them, they don't exist. That means that her daughter was there for 4 days, just like she said.
Okay.
Now, how much money did you pay Miss Miller when you signed your daughter up for her program?
$210.
Is that all the money that you paid her?
For the deposit, yes.
No, I just want to ask you, during the time that your daughter was at her daycare, did you give her any other money other than the $210?
Yes.
How much did you give her?
It would have been $35 a day, so it would be the $140.
$140. So you paid her each day that your daughter came?
Yes.
Is that right?
Most certainly.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Great. So now you have $210 and you terminated her daughter at your program.
Yes.
Tell me why.
Failure to pay on time.
No, she paid you. You just told me that. She paid you $35 a day each time her daughter came.
She was supposed to pay at the end of the week, every week. She didn't pay a couple of weeks, and I told her she didn't have to pay the late fee, and so she paid me the following week.
Why did you terminate her daughter?
Due to failure of not to pay, and also failure to provide me a doctor's note of why her daughter wasn't potty trained.
You have to give her her money back.
She was potty
$210.
trained.
Unless your contract specifies that a child has to be potty trained for you to care for them, and that's something that she fraudulently withheld from you, then you would have reason to terminate her, and there may be a clause in your contract that provides that a deposit will not be returned. But you can't terminate somebody based upon your whim and then not return their deposit, especially when you just told me she paid you each time her child came. It's ridiculous. What kind of an operation do you run?
Right?
What?
I said right?
I really don't need you to approve of me.
I'm sorry.
10 million people approve of me. There are a lot of people who watch that don't approve of me. I don't care as long as they watch. Anything else you have to tell me?
Can I say something, Your Honor?
About what?
We had a contract, and in the contract it said the deposit was non-refundable.
Sit down.
She had 2 weeks to use that deposit.
Sit down. Sit down. Your wife terminated her. Is that your wife?
No, it's my girlfriend. She terminated her for just
girlfriend.
cause.
Great.
She had,
That's
she
your
had
girlfriend.
the cause to do it.
Listen to me. Don't speak when I'm speaking. It's irritating. Your girlfriend didn't want to take her 4-year-old to the bathroom. I actually could understand that. Then she's in the wrong business.
She
could
gladly
do car.
took it.
I'm speaking and you're not. She should do car lubes if she doesn't want to take a toddler to the bathroom. But she can't terminate a client and then keep her money. She didn't leave. She terminated her. She gave her a letter and said, I'm not taking care of your kid anymore unless you have a doctor's note why she doesn't go to the bathroom by herself. Isn't that what you told her?
Yes.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $210. Thank you.
Please excuse, you may step out.
I basically went to a daycare and my daughter just needed a little help in the potty.
She refused to show me a doctor's note for her daughter not being potty trained.
She's potty trained. She always went to the bathroom, never wet herself, but you know, apparently that's too much to ask. Here's a little help.
I mean, maybe I should watch who I watch better next time.
I think it's most certainly part of a child care. They obviously should not be in business, and that's the whole reason why I took them to court.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of West versus Harrington. Step forward.
22-year-old babysitter Angelica West is suing her former client, Brittany Harrington, for unpaid babysitting fees. Brittany claims her son was injured while in Angelica's care.
Miss Harrington, how old is your baby?
My baby is 9 months old.
That's your only child?
No, I have a 3-year-old son.
Which child needed Miss West's babysitting service?
Both.
Why?
Because I work.
Who do you work for?
I work for an urgent care.
And when did you hire Miss West to babysit for your 2 children?
On the 8th of April.
And how did you find her?
On Craigslist, I had posted an ad.
Did you interview her on the 8th?
I spoke to her the day prior and did a phone interview, and then I asked her to come to my home for an interview.
Did she come to your home?
Yes.
On what date?
Sorry, the 7th of April for the interview.
And you satisfied with what you saw?
Yes, she was very nice. We had good conversation.
Did she see the children?
She did see the children. My son, not my daughter. My daughter was still sleeping before I left that morning.
The answer is she did not meet either of the children the day that she babysat for them.
Correct.
And what had you arranged with her with regard to how many days a week she was going to babysit?
It was going to be every Monday except for the Wednesday that she was supposed to work that week.
And what was the salary that you were going to pay her?
$120 for the day.
Did she babysit on Monday?
Yes, she did.
Did you give her the $120?
No, I didn't.
Why?
Because I had told her that I didn't have the money that day. I pay at the end of the week, as I do with everybody.
So, on Monday of that week, you owed her $120.
Correct.
Fine. Have you ever paid her the $120?
No, I have not.
Now, you picked your children up on Monday?
Well, yes, I came home.
So she babysat in your house?
At my house.
And you made the excuse to her that you didn't have the money to pay her on Monday because you don't get paid.
I told her ahead of time that I would pay her at the end of the week. That's not true.
Fine. So when she left your house, according to you, that's not what she says, but according to you,
right,
you know that you owed her $120.
Correct.
And you've never paid her that.
No.
Well, then you owe her that.
No.
Oh, now, did you work Monday?
Yes, I did.
Did you get paid?
Yes, I did. I also didn't hurt anybody when I was at work.
How do I know that you didn't hurt anybody at your urgent care? Maybe you did hurt somebody at your urgent care. Maybe you accidentally hurt somebody at your urgent care. Maybe you didn't change their bedpan in time. Maybe they got a diaper rash. Maybe they got a bed sore. Maybe because of some of your actions, something bad happened to them. Don't know that. All I know is that you got paid for Monday.
Right.
And she worked on Monday. And when she left the house, you owed her for Monday. Now, Wednesday, she didn't work for you.
No, she did not.
Okay. When did you tell her she wasn't going to work for you?
I never told her that she wasn't going to work for me. She called me on Tuesday and said, if you can't pay me the day of, then I would rather not do that. So I said, okay, that's understandable. If she can't do that, that's fine. I can only do what I can do. So I told her that's fine. The next morning, Wednesday, I went to work and I got a text message from her saying, I need to come pick up my money today. Can you pick that up? I have the text message.
Just a second. So you went to work.
Correct. I hired somebody else.
You went to work and she didn't come to your house.
No, she resigned.
She resigned because she said to you, despite the fact that you told me, hey, look, pay attention. Despite the fact that you told me earlier that you had already discussed with her that she wasn't going to get paid until the end of the week, she said to you, you know, if you're not going to pay me the day I work, this is not going to work out.
She said that was fine prior.
It wasn't going to work out because you said she resigned. Now, did you say anything else to her when she said, I resign, I'm not coming in? Did you say anything else to her? You said okay.
Yes.
So you still owe her $120, minimally $120. Now, Miss Harrington, you're going to give me your baloney story as to why you think, despite the fact that she took care of your kids on Monday, you said nothing to her with regard to injury to your children when she called you on Tuesday to resign because you weren't paying her. Now you're going to tell me, months later, why you don't think you owe her for babysitting.
It was
and make it, listen to me, make it good. Make it good.
Because my son getting hurt is not a light matter to
I
me.
don't hear about your son getting hurt. You didn't call her and say, what happened to my son? He was hurt. And when she called you on Tuesday, you thoroughly expected for her to come and take care of them on Wednesday. She resigned. You didn't fire her. So now, without editorializing, you got 30 seconds.
Okay, well, I told her that I didn't appreciate her bringing her dog to my house because that was never discussed, especially since...
Just keep going. So you didn't appreciate it. Keep going.
No, I didn't because
I don't care.
I hired her. I interviewed her over the phone. I had her come to my home.
Would you
for
get
an
to
interview.
why you don't owe her the $120, please? I have other things to do.
I told her that
There's
I wasn't going to pay her because she left my daughter in the crib.
You owe her not $120. You owe her $240. $240.
No, I don't.
Because you had
Especially
retained
for
her.
slander.
I'm speaking. You had retained her for 2 days, Monday and Wednesday. The fact that
I
you
did
stiffed
not.
her on one day is your problem. I think that all this baloney about she injured my son, she brought the dog, she left the baby in the crib, all of this is a lot of baloney. You got away without paying her.
I have a
$240.
video.
Listen to me carefully. Your counterclaim's dismissed. You should have paid the freight. People work for you. They expect to be paid. Goodbye.
These are excused. You may step out.
She brought her dog over to my home and had him chasing around in the yard.
She actually agreed to have my puppy come over.
Knocked my son over.
I actually reported it to her the same day. He fell off of his bike.
Had gashes on his legs.
And had a scratch on his leg, and it had nothing to do with my dog.
Her mom called me and left slander on my phone.
Just the fact that the woman left those children with my daughter.
She's going to call CPS on me for not paying her daughter.
Without checking any of her references, I wanted the children to be taken away from her.
She had nothing from me and therefore left her children with me for 15 hours, and I was basically a complete stranger.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Victorioso versus Allen step forward.
Nancy Victorioso is suing her ex-boyfriend, John Allen, for a loan to buy a truck. John claims the money was a gift.
Ms. Victorioso, this involves 3 alleged loans to the defendant, who was your boyfriend. The first one, you say, was for $2,000, and that was for a down payment for a truck for him. That was in July of 2012.
Correct.
Now, he had promised to pay you back this $2,000. Didn't give you a time frame, but he said he would pay you back. A month later, he needed another $100, which is another loan. And he hadn't made any effort to pay you back any part of the $2,000. But you gave it to him anyway. That's another $100. Then, several months later, he needed another $100. And he hadn't paid you back any part of the $2,000. He hadn't paid you back any part of the other alleged loan of $100. But you gave him another $100. So that altogether is $2,200. So I want about the other $200. Because I don't buy the fact that an intelligent woman, and you appear to be, from what I read, an intelligent woman, if you didn't get paid back $2,000, why would you think he was going to pay you back any part of the $200? So I am going to concentrate on the $2,000 that you put down for his truck. Understood?
Understood.
To you, Mr. Allen, you acknowledge the $2,000. You acknowledge that it was for a down payment on a truck that your behind is sitting in, and you are driving, right?
Correct.
So I want you to tell me, you went shopping for this truck first alone?
Yes, ma'am. I actually went.
First alone. But at the time you went to the dealership and had to put down the down payment, were you alone?
They didn't ask for a loan right away.
I'm talking about, did you go to the truck dealership with the plaintiff?
No.
Never.
No.
So you went by yourself.
Yes, ma'am.
And tell me how you came up short this $2,000.
Well, because when I was at the dealership, I was looking at vehicles, and they said, okay, well, you can get this vehicle. And they said, okay, there'll be no money required down because my credit was decent at the time. And then whenever they came back to me, like I think it was like 2 days later, they told me, well, we're going to require...
Well, when they came back to you, did they come back to you by phone?
By telephone, yes.
By
correct.
phone, and?
They also told me, well, it's going to require a $2,000 down payment.
Do you remember where you were when they reached you on your phone?
I was actually at my work whenever they reached me at my phone.
So you were at work?
Yes, ma'am.
You must have been disappointed when they called you.
Not really.
So what did you do?
Well, we had a conversation.
What do you mean? No, we had a conversation. You're at work, you get this phone call, and you do what?
After I got off of work, me and Miss Victorioso, we actually had a conversation.
No, just a minute. Did you have the conversation in person or over the phone?
Over the telephone.
So you called her?
No, ma'am. She actually called me whenever she got off of work because she works later than me.
So she called you, and
We started talking, and then she asked me how the truck shopping was going, and so I told her what they came back to me on, and I told her, I said, well, I can go down and get a loan on my own, but at the time, because I'm a single dad, I have kids, I couldn't afford to go down and like take on a loan myself of a $2,000 down payment. And then she said, okay, well, I can give you the money. And I'm like, well, I don't feel comfortable taking the money because it's something that I won't be able to pay back.
Oh, I don't believe you said that at all.
That's exactly what I said.
Oh, that I don't believe that you said that at all. I don't feel comfortable. You were going to take out a loan. You just told me I was going to take out a loan. But you didn't feel comfortable about doing that because you're a single dad?
Well, I didn't feel comfortable about it because at the time I couldn't afford to pay $2,000 to anybody at that time.
You mean to the car
pay? I could have went and got a loan. I just didn't want to get myself in over my head. And I didn't ask her for the loan. She said, okay, I'll give you the money. And she never said anything about me paying that money back, ever. We were in a relationship for 6 months. And then all of a sudden, whenever she goes out of town on a vacation for 5 days, I'm keeping her dog while she's going out of town. She comes back. All of a sudden, I now owe her $2,000.
You do.
Just a sec. Don't speak. Who cares if you're a single dad? Who cares if you have children you have to support? You made them. You support them. I don't want to support him. She don't want to support him. Bird, he's got enough children that he has to support. Why should you think that that's an important piece of information for me? I had children. I supported them.
Because I just, like I said, I didn't want to get in over my head.
Then you should have driven around in your old truck. Old beat-up jalopy. If you can't afford to buy a new truck, don't buy a new truck. Just because you want a new truck doesn't mean you have to have a new truck.
No, you're right. I didn't have to have a new
Absolutely right. You didn't have to have it. And if you didn't want to become indebted to anybody, then you shouldn't have become indebted to anybody. Does she work?
Yes.
She support herself?
Yes.
Or should she support you and your kids? You're not in a relationship anymore. All she knows is she's out to have the truck, and she has nothing. Not even a good memory of you. You owe her $2,000. Pay it, Mr. Allen. That's all.
Excuse me, step out.
She helped me out. She gave me money and never gave me a stipulation on it that it was an actual loan.
As far as lending money to a boyfriend, don't do it.
That I had to pay it back until whenever we actually broke up.
He lost his job. Relatives had passed away.
Then she wants her money back, and it doesn't work that way.
And most of the time, he just didn't answer back.
Not to take money from people.
I'm just not going to lend anybody money.
Amari Garcia is suing fellow motorist April Tarrant for damages from a motorcycle accident.
This is a case that's about an automobile-motorcycle collision. Each one of you claims that the other is responsible for the collision. Miss Garcia, you were riding the motorcycle?
Yes, ma'am.
And you were in your car?
Yes.
Okay. And this happened on what date?
March 21st, 2022, around 3 p.m.
In what state?
California.
In the state of California, are you required to have insurance on a motorcycle?
Yes, Your Honor.
Just liability?
Liability if it's paid for in full, correct. Yes, Your Honor.
And were you insured on that date?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you were driving a car?
Yes.
And was your car insured on March 21st, 2022?
Not at the time.
So the answer is no?
No.
Did you have a valid driver's license on March 21st, 2022?
Yes.
From what state?
California.
What kind of car were you driving?
A 2011 Nissan Sentra.
Was it a new car for you, or did you have it for a while?
It's a new car. I purchased it 3 weeks prior to the incident.
And if you bought it 3 weeks before, how come you didn't have liability insurance?
I was looking for insurance, and plus, at the time, I hadn't received my paperwork. It was still in the other person's name.
Your Honor, you know you're not supposed to be driving a car, Miss Tarrant, without insurance.
Yes, I'm aware of that.
Okay. You wanted to say something?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. I have proof that April Tarrant purchased her vehicle February 8th, 2022. She drove uninsured for 41 days, and it was not from a lot. It was from someone off the street. I have the proof for that.
I'd like to see it.
Yes. Oh, thank you. For $2,050.
Well, this car that you registered, the selling price was $2,050, according to this.
No, it wasn't. And
well, I'm going to show you vehicle and transfer law. This is 2011 Sentra, and it was signed, but it's LLC. That's his company.
Okay.
So it wasn't off the street, but it said the selling price was $2,000. That's what this says.
I don't have my paperwork in my car.
I want to show this to her. I just want to get some basic facts first, and then I'm going to go to the incident. Oh, the person, the seller.
And you know, I have my paperwork in my car.
Well, But you understand that that's
I understand
what
you're saying because it's right there.
That's
yes.
Okay, we have a diagram. This happened on March 21st, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You had no insurance, and you were traveling in the bike lane.
No, that is not true. I shared the lane of the car on the right. I would never go into a bike lane. That is disrespectful to the road and riders.
Just a second. Are you allowed to share a lane with a car and a motorcycle?
That is your right, yes.
I know Foothill. Is that where you were?
Yes, Your Honor.
And at a certain time during the day, Foothill becomes very trafficked.
Yes.
And the cars sometimes get stopped because there's a light, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go over to there, Miss Garcia, and show me, please, where you were positioned before you say that you were traveling in the same lane as a car.
Your Honor, I was directly behind this car.
Okay.
Directly behind.
You were directly behind that car.
Yes.
And that car was stopped.
They were slowing to a stop.
No, they were stopped because they had to have been stopped because that's why you went around him.
They were slowing to a stop. By the time I got around here, they were slowing down. I was around 25 miles per hour. This lane at the time was too close. So I shared this lane on this side.
Miss Garcia, I got it, Miss Garcia. You want me to appreciate the fact that you wanted to get around the stopped car and you wanted to continue to go straight, correct? You weren't turning. You wanted to go straight.
I was going straight, correct.
And so you want me to picture in this tiny mind of mine that instead of going into a perfectly clear bike lane, you inched your way at 25 miles an hour in the same lane as a stopped car.
Yes.
Right.
This diagram,
you know, I find that hard to believe, Miss Garcia.
Your
I
Honor,
really find that hard to believe. You may be in the right with regard to this, but I find it hard to believe.
The roads are very wide. I have the actual police photo document of that.
I'd like to see it.
Yes, Your Honor. Right here.
And I'd like to see the police report as well. Is there a police report?
It's attached to this.
Fine. Because as you were traveling straight, the defendant was making a left turn. Now, I don't know whether she could see whether it's a motorcycle or a bicycle traveling in the bike lane, but what happened was she was making a left turn. According to this, you went into her passenger side. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So where is the motorcycle now?
I no longer have it. The towing company, they sold it.
What are you driving around in now?
1995 Chevy Baville.
Atta girl!
Amari Garcia is accusing fellow motorist April Taryn of damaging her motorcycle. April claims Amari was illegally driving in the bike lane.
Who was in the car with you, Miss Taryn?
My son and his girlfriend.
One of them had an injury.
Yes. My son's girlfriend, she was in the driver's passenger side. And while I was turning into the lane, I just felt a crash and saw glass going into my car. And then she was cut.
Okay. And you had an injury to your knee?
Yes, I have several injuries. And I have photos as well.
You understand, Miss Taryn, that the police interviewed the stopped cars.
Yes.
And at the end of all of their interviewing process, they determined that you were the cause of the collision. That's what it says.
And I don't...
It says that you caused the collision by violating Vehicle and Traffic Law 21-8001, failure to yield when making a left turn. I determined the cause based upon the parties involved and the physical evidence. That's what the police determined. Okay, well, then that's an easy, based upon the police report, because each of you were going to tell two different stories about what happened that day. Police were there, they looked at the physical evidence, they looked at the injuries, they looked at the damage to the roadway, they interviewed independent witnesses, and that was their determination.
I understand, Judge, but the police report had some inconsistencies where, like, she was driving in the bicycle lane, which is against the law. And what I was doing, I was making the left turn, as you know. And these two front cars, which one of them was a witness.
Yes, that car paused to let you make a left turn.
Yes.
Well, that's what you say.
Yes.
That's what you say. That's not what this says.
See, but they both did. And as I was
But I'm just telling you.
No, I know.
Yeah,
that's why
I'm just telling you. That's not what this is. That's what you say. There was nothing that prevented those two cars from going.
Exactly.
There wasn't a traffic light. There wasn't a stoplight at that spot.
Yes.
And there was heavy traffic.
Yes.
So it's your responsibility to make sure if you're making a left turn that you have to yield to all oncoming traffic.
And
so the fact that you didn't see her is really not relevant. And as long as you understand that this police report supports Miss Garcia's claim that you caused this accident by making a left turn when you shouldn't have been making a left turn, that's what this says. And that, you know, at the end of the day, it's an accident. That's why it's not called an on purpose. It's called an accident. Neither one of you anticipated it. As far as I'm concerned, Ms. Garcia, you're entitled to be compensated, but I'm going to suggest this to you. If I'm driving a motorcycle, which I would never do, just for me, I think it's wacky. I think there are enough crazy people driving around that I like about 2,000 pounds of steel around me so that if somebody who is not paying attention and there's an accident, I like to be safe. My first car when I was 17, all my convertibles, and my father bought me a 15-year-old blue and white Cadillac sedan. It was so embarrassing to drive around in that car. It was a boat. Oh, come on. Everybody else is getting these cute little Corvettes, even if they're used ones. And my father, who loved me a lot, said to me, sweetheart, if you get into the accident, I want you to come out unscathed. And this ensures that you got a shot if you get into an accident. And I feel better. So I'm just telling you, if you're going to drive a motorcycle, don't take shortcuts. I know this place on Foothill, and I know what happened here. You know, you wanted to go. There was no reason why you couldn't. That's why you drive a motorcycle, because you can get into tight places. But you look like an intelligent young woman.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Don't take chances. That was a chance. It could have been a lot worse. What was the damage to your motorcycle?
I have pictures. Would you like to see them, Your Honor?
I would.
I did look it up. Lane splitting motorcycles is legal in California.
Okay, no, I see the pictures. So where is the motorcycle now?
I no longer have it. The towing company, they sold it. They sold it for $70 they claim, and I got hit with collections afterwards. I have the bill for that if you'd like to see that.
How much did you pay for it?
$6,407.
Do you have the bill?
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
For my motorcycle, what I paid for, correct?
Yes, what you paid for it. What are you driving around in now?
A 1995 Chevy Baville.
Atta girl! Atta girl. Okay. I'm giving you the value of the motorcycle.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Which is $6,407. I'm not splitting whose fault this was, actually, but I'm not awarding you any punitive damages for her. She had injuries in her car. You were slightly injured, but both of you seem fine now. I don't think that you were careful enough when you were going straight and around that car that was stopped. But the defendant didn't have insurance, and she was cited by the police for violation of a traffic law. So I'm giving you the cost of your motorcycle.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Judgment for the plaintiff.
This court is adjourned.
So I actually...
It was really frightening.
I hit the ground. I hit on my elbow.
I've never experienced that before.
I was really scared. I thought, like, oh, this is it. My legs are out.
And like I said, I was being cautious, and
thankfully I wasn't.
But it ended up in that kind of situation.
Definitely more safely as far as better gear, and, you know, like she said, don't take a shortcut or anything of that sort.
So I looked up lane splitting, and in California, it's one of the few states that allows it for motorcyclists. It does say inexperienced riders shouldn't attempt it because, like we see, it's very easy to get hit or for someone not to see you if you're splitting between lanes, but it is legal. So she wasn't in the wrong by lane splitting, but I think it was a sticky situation. You're behind a car, someone's turning.
What does it say if you're injured?
It does say on the Highway Patrol website that you're splitting at your own risk. So any injuries that happen are at your own risk.
So they say if you are lane splitting, it's not illegal.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have injuries as a result of an accident, if you're lane splitting, you're responsible for your own injuries.
It doesn't say it in a legal.
He's suing his ex-girlfriend, Jennifer Hancock, and her ex-boyfriend, Derek Jones, for personal property.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2063, Martin versus Hancock Jones.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Martin, how old are you, sir?
I'm 46.
Who is this with you?
This is my girlfriend, Kimberly.
Case is not unusual, but sad. Mr. Martin, you had a long history of drug addiction.
I did.
From when to when?
From 2002 until December 1st, 2020. I've been clean for 2 years on the 1st of December.
Good for you.
Thank you.
Did you manage to get clean by going into a residential facility?
I did, yes.
How long were you in a residential facility?
I was in 23 days in an inpatient facility, and I was just over a month in an outpatient facility.
Are you currently working?
I am.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a production manager for a soap and bath bomb company.
How long have you been working for them?
A year yesterday.
Are you in touch with your folks?
I am.
Back in their good graces?
Yes, ma'am.
There was a time when that wasn't true.
Correct.
This is what I gather this case is about. Miss Hancock was your girlfriend.
Yes.
For how long?
We dated from November 2019 until April 2020. We separated for a few months and got back together in July 2020 and separated again in September 2020, so 7 months.
And it would be a fair statement, sir, that the reasons that you separated on both instances is because you relapsed into using drugs.
Yes.
And it would also be a fair statement that the first time you left the house at the defendant's request, you were unsuccessful permanently from ridding yourself of addiction, but you thought you were okay and you asked her to take you back.
Yes.
And she did.
Yes.
And you would have to acknowledge to me that made her, A, a forgiving person.
Very.
And someone who cared about you.
Yes.
I say all that to you because it's not my job today to exacerbate what appears to be a strained situation, which I assume from your papers has resulted in a final protective order in favor of Miss Hancock, keeping you away from her for how many years? A criminal case was resolved, and that was a criminal stalking case.
Yes.
That was resolved, and it was resolved in her favor probably, and I don't know this for certain, probably with a plea from you.
Yes.
And when you enter a plea, the judge always asks you, you understand your right to have a trial, you have a right to examine witnesses, you have a right to call witnesses, and by making this admission, it is the same thing as a guilty verdict.
Correct.
Judge did tell you that.
Yes.
I assume. I mean, I remember making those statements many, many times. A long, long time ago. I'm surprised I still remember any of it. And you're supposed to remain away from her.
Yes.
So the first question I have, well, I know why you're here. You're here because you say the last time she threw you out, and she threw you out not only because she found drugs that you were using again, but she had a fear that you were selling drugs out of the house, and she couldn't be involved with that, which is perfectly legitimate. You would have to acknowledge that.
Absolutely.
You'd also acknowledge, and I'm reading these papers sort of between the lines, your complaint, her answer, and the countersuit, that Miss Hancock had a child.
Yes.
A son.
Yes.
How old? When you were
15
living?
at the time.
And uber impressionable age, and the fact that you were using drugs in the house, it really exposed him to something that a teenager shouldn't be exposed to because his mother has feelings for that person who's drug addicted.
Yes.
And I assume you had warm feelings at some point for this 15-year-old.
Absolutely.
At the time, your parents had asked you to leave the house.
I was living with my parents at the time. Jennifer asked me to move into the house because Mr. Jones had placed a GPS tracker on her car, and she was concerned about her safety with him.
So you were dating at the time?
Yes, I was living with my parents before I moved in, yes.
Okay. Was that a happy situation?
At the time it was, yes. It didn't get difficult to last.
Moved away from that. And when you moved in with Miss Hancock, according to you, you were not paying rent.
Correct.
You were, in fact, working.
I was.
House in lieu of rent. That's what you say in your papers.
Yes, I bought things for the house. Yes.
Those were exactly the words that you swore to. You said, I also spent over $10,000 on things for her place.
Correct.
In lieu of paying to live there.
Correct.
What things did you buy?
I bought a dryer.
Dryer?
I put $1,200 into her son's Ford fixing it. I bought...
Okay, so you paid for some things for her son. What else did you buy for the house?
We went to Costco several times and spent $1,000.
Okay, so you
towels.
went, just a second. Yeah. I'm not interested in Costco several times. Yeah. You know, you do use toilet paper, don't you?
Absolutely.
What else did you buy for the household?
I bought a battery for a Ford car. I bought a Keurig. I bought a rug, towels. I paid for the vacations while we were together. I bought some home lights for the outside.
Come on, keep going. What else did you buy?
And
what else did you buy for the house? So far, we're not close to $10,000.
That's all.
Well, you swore to the fact that you spent $10,000, that you bought things for the house in lieu of rent. So far, you've given me maybe $2,500.
Okay.
And that includes a couple of trips to Costco. So I want to know, what else did you buy for the house? Did you buy televisions for the house?
I bought televisions.
Just a second. How many televisions did you buy?
I bought two.
And how much were they?
One was $1,700, the other one was $500.
What else did you buy for the house?
Those are the only items I remember buying for the house.
Great. Now, what items do you claim that, because that's what this is about so far, what items do you claim that Miss Hancock kept that belonged to you when she told you to leave the second time?
I have text messages saying...
No, don't tell me text. I don't want to hear text messages. I want to hear what items you claim are your property that she kept when she told you to leave the second time. That requires things: a fishbowl, a guppy, a pair of shoes, a tie. And if you say any of those things, I'm going to throw you out of here because I don't waste my time over guppies.
Yeah.
So tell me what you are alleging that she kept.
2 TVs.
Okay.
An entertainment center.
Just a second. You didn't tell me an into $500. That would fit into the $10,000 of what you spent in the house. Entertainment center. What did you pay for the entertainment center?
Originally, I paid $1,200.
What else?
I'm also asking for the return of a rehab center that she was kicked me out of, $2,500.
Oh, don't be ridiculous. Keep going.
Okay. And then 47 Nintendo 64 games.
47 what?
Nintendo 64 games.
So, Mr. Martin, because I'm going to make short shrift of this case, as you can see right now, and your girlfriend looks like a nice lady, I don't know why you're here. You seem to have problems with boyfriends. You got to start picking them better.
I do.
This one put a tracker on you. This one, you have a protective order permanently. You have to figure these things out before ultimately you get very hurt.
Brian Martin claims his ex-girlfriend, Jennifer Hancock, and her ex-boyfriend, Derek Jones, owe for personal property. Jennifer and Derek are countersuing for harassment.
Okay, so far, all the things that you told me that you bought for the house barely add up to the $10,000 that you swore that you purchased for things for the house in lieu of paying rent. Do you understand?
I do. If I may also add, when we were separated the first time, I sold my marital home for $47,000. I cashed it at my bank and I put it into an account with her that I was an authorized user on. I did not get that money back because she removed my name from the account. So that money also went to purchase things while we were together that were for the house. I don't remember specifically what we bought. It was close to $20,000 that wasn't returned.
But Mr. Martin, I can understand that. But, you know, this is a court.
Okay.
This is not a guessing game. This is not a game show. If you're saying that because of whatever reason you put your money into an account that she had access to and you spent account, I can't help you with that.
Okay.
Do you understand?
I do.
I mean, it was a time that was a fog. Did Miss Hancock and or Mr. Jones ever return any property to you or to your parents' house?
They did on November 20th.
That was in 2021?
Yes.
What month in 2021 did they return things to your parents' house?
It was November 20th to the 21st during the night.
Were you present?
I was not. I did not live there.
So I would assume that you found out that that property was delivered to your parents' house from either Miss Hancock or your parents.
My parents.
And your parents aren't here today.
They are not.
Your girlfriend was not there when they
No.
were delivered.
I have signed affidavits from them.
From whom?
From my parents about the property.
Are your parents in any way disabled, or are either one of them in the military?
No, my father was in the military, no longer.
Well, that's the only reason you don't come in person to court if you're disabled, and I might accept an affidavit, or if you're unable to come to court by virtue of the fact that you're in the military. None of those things apply here, so I'm not taking any information that you have in an affidavit. Suffice it to say that they did, over a 2-day period, return a lot of property to your parents' house.
Yes.
And that, based upon my rough guesstimates, because you can't help me out anymore with that you swore in your complaint, Mr. Martin, that you spent in lieu of rent $10,000
Yes.
in the home.
Yes.
And that was specifically because you weren't paying any of the household expenses. Yes. And all of the things that you added up to me, I don't know what 47 video games are, but I assumed that the 15-year-old played them more than you did. She says they were gifted to him. I don't know whether they were or they weren't. Certainly, if you want them back. Do you still have any of the video games?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you want the video games, sir, or do you want to leave them where they are?
I would like them.
You would like them?
Yes.
Okay. Miss Hancock, I'm going to make this as easy as possible. I would like you, not the boyfriend, I would like you to pack up those video games. And do you live in the same town, area, whatever?
Close enough.
Is there a police precinct where you can drop them off?
Yes.
Do you know what precinct number that is?
I don't know the number, but I'm happy to drop them off at Bountiful City Police Department.
Got it?
Yep.
Within 5 days from today, package up if any of them damaged, I don't want to hear from you. We're talking about a year ago, a 15-year-old has played with them, whatever. She's going to give you back your video, your 47 video games. Okay?
Okay.
Take a breath. You have to say it's over. Tell me about your new girlfriend. Are you living together?
We are, yeah. She's great. I love her.
She's great.
She's amazing.
And you're fine?
Yeah.
And you're working?
Mm-hmm.
You have to put a period to this.
Yes.
A real period.
I know.
Okay? Ms. Hancock, you and are you currently together, or is this an ex-boyfriend?
Ex-boyfriend.
Ex-boyfriend. Well, you seem to have problems with boyfriends. You got to start picking them better.
I do.
This one put a tracker on you. This one, you have a protective order permanently. You have to figure these things out before ultimately you get very hurt.
Absolutely.
Okay. I read not only your answer, and I've resolved Mr. Martin's claim. He is going to get all of his videos back. You know that Ms. Hancock and Mr. Jones have a cross-claim for harassment.
I do.
And that was not made part of the criminal case, any restitution.
No.
It was not. Did the district attorney request any restitution?
No.
Why not?
I was actually not involved. It was a criminal case, not a civil.
Well, you were the complainant in the criminal case.
The state of Utah is the one who filed it.
But you were the complainant. They may have filed it.
It actually says right here, state of Utah is the plaintiff.
Of course.
So,
I know that
I did contact the police and ask them to do
So
that.
you were the complainant.
Okay, yes.
You know, it's the state of New York versus John Jones. It's the state of Utah versus John Jones, but there has to be a complainant.
Yes.
Somebody who was robbed, somebody who was the victim of stalking, somebody who was the victim of an assault. That's the complainant. That's who you were.
Sorry, I misunderstood.
Did you ever ask the district attorney for compensation for lost wages or anything else that you suffered as a result of this stalking?
No, I was not aware I could actually do that.
Okay, well, that's not something that I consider, but there is part of your counterclaim that is particularly troubling to me. And it is your claim on the counterclaim that Mr. Martin, at some point, photoshopped pornographic pictures. When did that happen?
It was left on Derek's car, and I'm not sure when, because Derek found it and didn't tell me about it for a while because he was upset and he didn't want to upset me about it.
When did you find it, Mr. Jones?
That would have been after this first bogus stalking injunction he filed and lost.
Bogus?
He filed a fraudulent stalking injunction. He filed
Stalking?
Against me.
So it was after that?
Mm-hmm.
And that was May of 2021? I'm trying to tell Mr. Martin, and I don't know how to make it any more clear to him, that his path going forward has to be putting a period, that in this whole scenario, you were the culprit.
I did not do what they're claiming right there. Absolutely, 100%. I did not.
You did not?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Let us assume, Mr. Jones, that you found on your car a pornographic picture that had been photoshopped with Miss Hancock's face and someone else's body. I'm assuming for a moment that that's true. Not that I have to look at it. I assume for the moment that's true. What proof do you have that Mr. Martin put that on your car?
Well, the problem is I don't have any proof of that, but he had put other signs up. I have a police report. He was hanging signs on my property. He got arrested for doing that and tased.
Okay.
I mean...
What I'm asking you specifically, that's what I'm particularly concerned about.
We couldn't prove it was him. We couldn't prove it was him.
Okay, fine. Do you have a new boyfriend?
No, I do not.
In what month was the protective order made final?
May of 2022.
Other than this experience, what happened?
Oh, there's a fly.
There's a fly. Oh, Mr. Jones, I'm expert at flies. That's not coming. You have an attitude, and you're not a baby. I mean, it's not as if you're 21 years old anymore. And if you have that within you, to have bad behavior against another person, that's there. Either you have it or you don't.
Brian Martin has accused his ex-girlfriend, Jennifer Hancock, and her ex-boyfriend, Derek Jones, of keeping his personal property. Jennifer and Derek are countersuing, claiming...
Today's appearance. Since that was issued in May of 2022, have you had any other contact with Mr. Martin?
No.
Have you?
Yes.
Tell me when.
5/7/2021, we called the police.
No. Pay careful attention to my question, Mr. Jones. Between May of 2022 and today, have you had any contact with Mr. Martin?
Just his files, his claims. He keeps filing protective orders against me.
When was the last time he filed a protective order against you?
Well, he tried filing one a week before this, and I have that
A week
as well.
before what?
Before this case.
Okay.
And I have that police report. They told him no.
Okay. So they didn't allow him to file it?
That one. But he's filed several others.
I'm talking about between May...
Nope, that's the last one.
That was the last one. I'd like to see it, please, Kevin. Mr. Jones, do you have a protective order in your favor?
I've tried.
Not tried.
No, I don't.
You do not? Okay.
Your Honor, I have a video of catching him stalking my house, hanging signs. We submitted that. We also have the police report that he was arrested that day and tased.
And tased?
Yep. I have that report right here as well.
I'd like to see it. Mr. Jones, I'm going to go back to just May of 2020. Since May of 2020, have you had any contact with him? The answer is either yes or no.
Yes.
When?
He's submitted letters to my family. He has emailed me.
I'd like to see the letters he submitted to your family.
These are some. He said, oh, there's more. These were cease and desist
Just
letters.
1 second. Just 1 second. What's this?
Mr. Jones texted me a text that says,
Dear Miss Jones, who did you send this to?
I'm not aware of the letter. May I see it?
He took it to my rental.
What are you giving me?
These are letters he submitted to my houses or my rentals when he was trying to find me.
Just a second.
This was in relation. Mr. Jones had a temporary stalking injunction in place against him on February 7th, 2021. On May 5th, 2021, he was served that stalking injunction, and that is when the incident with the Bountiful Police took place that you're reading right now. Mm-hmm. He showed up to where I was getting my oil change. In addition to that, he has sent Facebook messages to my girlfriend that she's here to testify on.
I'm going to tell you that you see how calm you are? Not him. You understand that? Not him. Probably not him, but definitely not him. And I'm going to just suggest to both of you that neither one of you want any other legal action. You already have a lifetime protective order issued against you in favor of Ms. Hancock. Yes. So I'm just telling you, I'd stay as far away from him, Mr. Martin, as I possibly Could. Go a mile out of your way rather than go anywhere near where he is.
That's
fine.
That's what I'm doing
Now,
now.
Mr. Jones, you have, and I've been around here for a long time, these kinds of buildings for a long time, you have an attitude. I can tell you have an attitude. And things may have been bad historically, but you know your behavior wasn't perfect historically. You would agree with that with Miss Hancock, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
You would agree with that. Okay. And you're not a baby. I mean, it's not as if you're 21 years old anymore. And if you have that within you to have bad behavior against another person, that's there. Either you have it or you don't. And what I'm suggesting to you is that this is not going to be a good outcome if this animus continues. She's not your girlfriend anymore. He's got a new girlfriend. You don't have anything to do with him anymore. Nothing. If you have to travel a mile out of your way to avoid going anywhere where he gets lunch, coffee, a Jiffy Lube, or anything else, I would suggest that you do it.
I've done that. He keeps filing protective orders.
Good. Well, he can do that. Don't add fuel to this fire, madam. It's my job to try to temper it. If what you're going to do is to add fuel to this fire, then I think that it's really not a smart idea.
Yeah.
The plaintiff will get his 47 videos back within 5 days. They will be dropped off at the local police precinct. What?
May I actually say there's only 21 that was ever given, so there's not 47.
How many do you have?
We have 19 of those games.
Okay, 19.
Yes.
You have any other property that belongs to him?
No.
No. Okay, we're done here. 19. 5 days. Police precinct.
This court is adjourned.
I'm disappointed because I've dealt with this man for over 2 years.
He's just jealous of my awesomeness.
I've moved on with my life. I have a new girlfriend, and I just want my things back.
Whatever. I just want him out of my life.
It's time to close the chapter. It's time to move on.
I never want to see him again. I never want to hear from him again.
People spend so much time with negative energy.
Oh, yes.
Sarah, if the one thing that you and all other single people out there can take away from this case is that women are supposed to be smart. And clearly, she had a nose for bad boys.
Yeah.
Because according to what we heard, the reason she invited him to come and live with her is because the
different problem with a different
co-defendant, right, co-defendant, Mr. Jones, was really stalking her.
Mm-hmm.
And the same problem she had with the plaintiff. But stalking is an odd one. You have to be a little bit off to engage in stalking, to really terrorize somebody.
Especially to the level of legal action for stalking.
Yeah.
Because I know the standard for getting a restraining order, even a temporary one, is very high, the standard.
There has to be some pretty serious stuff that the judge reads. And he pled guilty.
Mm-hmm.
But Mr. Jones also acknowledged that he had not treated her well. So it's always sad to me when perfectly reasonable women, sometimes because of their need to nest, will choose subpar mates.
I think it's more important to hold on to your own energy than to allow it to seep into these negative wells that will just run.